Oh, let's all take a breath. Sometimes music like that makes me just go someplace else and then I forget all about what I'm talking about. So let's see what happens. We're talking about blessing this month. And today we're finishing up our talks on blessing. So how many people have been doing blessing this month? How many people are going to start doing blessing before the month is over? How many people are willing to think about blessing this month? Okay. Well, trust me, it really will transform your life, the act of blessing itself. Blessing defined by Ernest Holmes as a constructive thought directed toward a person or a condition. And what happens when you're blessing is we're recognizing the divinity in someone else or in something or some circumstance or some condition, knowing that God is in the midst of that person or whatever is going on. The definition that we've been working with is to wish the very best for someone in total sincerity from the bottom of our hearts. And the key to that definition is total sincerity, wishing the very best in total sincerity from the bottom of our hearts, wishing the very best for somebody. And so when we start to do that, our lives will transform because we are in a totally different energy ourselves. In order to do that with total sincerity from the bottom of our hearts, we have to be in a special place within. We can't curse and bless at the same time. I say this every week. That doesn't work. They're mutually exclusive. And so what we do, we open our hearts to bless people, to bless situations, to bless circumstances. Because what we're doing is recognizing the truth that we know here in religious science. Thank you very much. As soon as I said truth, he spoke up, didn't he? The truth that we know is that God is in the midst of everything. And so when we recognize the divinity in everything, we know that God is in the midst of everything, and we're recognizing that as we bless situations and circumstances and people. And, you know, it seems that when we start to bless, I don't know if you've noticed this, that the universe gives us more opportunities to bless. Have you noticed that? The more we bless, the more the universe gives us opportunities to bless, right? And in some faith traditions, they call that God testing us. I don't believe that God tests us, so I think that the universe is just giving us more opportunity to practice what we are practicing, to deepen in consciousness the way that we can deepen in consciousness. And I also know that spirit is always seeking to fill a mold. And as it fills that mold, when it gets full, it's looking for a bigger mold. And so when we start blessing, the mold gets bigger. And so Spirit is looking to create, to fill that space also. So when it starts to create, to fill that space, and then it gives us more opportunity to have a bigger mold so that more of Spirit can flow into that. And so that's what happens when it looks like we're getting more and more and more when we make a decision that we're going to practice blessing, or practice loving, or practice trusting, or practice peace, or practice whatever it is that we determine that we're going to practice. We have an opportunity to do that even more. So I just encourage you to bless and then fasten your seatbelts, because you will have the opportunity to bless even more. Last week, I left work in the afternoon and was going right home to do some things, and I thought, let me just stop at the store for 1 minute, and then I'll keep straight home. And I stopped at the store and went inside, wasn't in there 15 minutes, and when I came back out, someone had keyed my car from the headlight all the way down to the tail light. And then they came back from the tail light all the way to the headlight, and they looped around as they were coming down the side. So when I came out it was on the driver's side. So when I came out to get in the car, I saw it, and I responded the way that I generally respond to things. I looked at it as I was getting in the car, and I said, And then I got in the car, and I started it up. And then I thought about it, and I said, that's not okay. And then I got out and looked at it really closely. But my initial reaction was, somebody keyed my car. And I got in, and then I thought, no, that's not the reaction, the response we want to have to this. So I got out and I looked at it, and then I decided to call the police. And I made a police report, and I did all the things that are necessary. First thing I did before I took the key out of the ignition was to bless the person. To bless the person. And I was really tuned into what I was feeling, and what I was feeling was sadness. I hadn't processed it all, but I realized I was feeling sadness. And as I've gone through, and as I went through that time right then, but as I've gone through the time since then, things like that make me sad for the person who does it, how much pain that person must be in, how much darkness must be around them, how much separation they must feel and sense from the presence of God and from who they really are. And so all this was swirling around me as I was thinking about, as I was waiting for the police to come, and then as I was thinking about who could have done this and why. And my ego wanted to go to somebody stalking me because I have a very distinctive license plate. So I'm thinking, oh, it makes me feel vulnerable because it seems like you know who I am, but I don't know who you are. Or you see me, but I don't see you. So, all that went through my mind. And I finally had to take a deep breath, move back into the truth that I know, and decide, it was probably random. Or not, I don't know. Police asked me on the phone, do you have any enemies? And I said, of course not. Enemies? No, of course I don't have any enemies. I don't know what could have happened here. So at any rate, the police officer came out. She was so nice. It was so hot. And she waited until I had gone back in the store. She waited until I came back out. And then we talked a little bit, and then I had to go back in the store, and she waited until I came back out. And she didn't get back in her car. She just stood out there and waited for me. And we talked a bit. She asked if I wanted to prosecute. I said yes. And I said, you know what? I'm not angry about this. I wouldn't be prosecuting from a place of anger, but I would like to hold the person accountable for this. So it's a car. It can be fixed or not. But, it wasn't life or limb. And even so, just being in a place of knowing that I don't have to have a closed heart or an angry heart to get through this process, whatever it is. And so, as I said, I blessed the person, I blessed my car, and the policewoman showed me the video camera that was on the roof, on the awning of the store. And I had been looking to see was there a camera, and I didn't see it, but she showed me the camera. And then it looked like it was pointed right at my car because I had decided that you couldn't see it because it was on the driver's side and the passenger side was next to the store. But who knows? Maybe they will find the person, maybe they won't. But the point is, I blessed that person. I blessed the situation. I blessed my car. And so after the officer took the report and gave me the report number and everything, and she started to walk away, she came back and shook my hand, and she said, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Wasn't that wonderful? How often does a police officer tell you, God bless you? I've never had that happen before. I'm not stopped by the police very often, but I've never had one tell me, God bless you. And I thought, wow, there's only one. There's only one mind. There's only one activity. There's only one thought. There's only one. And so God is operating in and through this situation as God operates in and through all situations. And so I just wanted to tell you how blessing works. The more we bless, the more we have opportunities to bless. And if blessing is so powerful for each one of us individually, and we can change our own lives and our own circumstances by blessing, just think if everybody in this room were blessing. If everybody in this room were blessing others. If everybody in this room were blessing everybody you pass, every car you pass. If everybody in this room, if just half of us were doing that, do you know how different this world would be? Do you know how, because when we start blessing, there's a spiritual law that's happening here. There's a spiritual law in effect. And so spiritual laws that are stronger than any laws are operating, and if all of us were making use of that spiritual law, we could change the world. We could change the world. That's how we change the world, by using spiritual law. And so I invite you, as we've been talking about blessing throughout this month, we've been talking more about blessing others, but today, the topic is, too many words are trying to come out. Today, the topic is, and what about you? And what about you? Are you blessing yourself? And what about you? Bless yourself. It's so important as we bless others, as we bless situations, as we bless circumstances. It's important for us to bless ourselves, to wish all that good upon ourselves, to bless ourselves. And so that's what one of the things we want to practice is self-compassion, compassion for ourselves. And how are we going to bless ourselves in a compassionate way? We're really good at cursing ourselves. We're really good at criticizing ourselves. We're really good at condemning ourselves. We're really good at doing all that stuff to ourselves, things that we wouldn't dare do to other people, things that we wouldn't dare say to other people. So I'm inviting you to let that go and start to bless yourself. As you move through your day, as you move through your life, as you go into different situations and circumstances and you see things you could have done differently, instead of cursing, really start to bless yourself. Bless yourself in the same ways that you would bless other people. Bless yourself in every aspect of your life. If you did something that didn't make sense, bless yourself in doing things that make more sense. If you're looking at financial situations, bless yourself in the ability to handle finances wonderfully, abundantly, prosperously. If you're dealing with health challenges, bless yourself in your health and your wholeness. And so learning to bless ourselves in every aspect of our lives can really, 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 really help us. Oftentimes when we are not blessing ourselves, doing the opposite of blessing, like judging and cursing and whatever the case may be, we do so according to the labels that we have for ourselves, according to our patterns, according to our habits, according to those little secret things we know about ourselves. And so we always start out with that, you do this, or you always, or you never. When we're speaking in that you voice, that's somebody else. That's an accusatory voice. If you're talking to yourself about you do this and you don't do that and that's an accusatory voice. That's a finger-pointing voice. If we could just turn it around and start to speak of I made a mistake. I didn't take very good care of myself in that situation. I have been feeling angry. I have been doing whatever the case may be. It's so much. Can you feel the difference in that? In saying, I did something, rather than you did something when you're talking to yourself. So just being mindful when we are talking about and practicing self-compassion, just being mindful of our self-talk. In this book that The Gentle Art of Blessing, a woman told the story that she had put some things in a bag, a big bag, including her purse and that had her wallet and money and other things, and some important papers and other things were in this big bag. And as she was getting into her car, she wanted to get her keys out, so she put the bag, guess where? Yeah, she put the bag on the hood of the car. Is that the hood? No, that's the top of the car. Thank you, the roof of the car. I know that was a word for it, but she put the bag on the roof of the car. And, of course, she didn't think about it until she had gotten way down the road and realized, no, she had gotten to where she was going. And she didn't have her bag on the seat, and she was looking around for it, and it dawned on her that she had put it on the roof of the car. Well, naturally, it wasn't there any longer. So then she retraced her steps, but before doing that, she said her first reaction was to judge herself, to blame herself. And instead of doing that, she had just read this book, and instead of doing that, she started to bless herself. Bless herself in her good memory. Bless herself in her ability to slow down and to pay attention to what she was doing. And she just really blessed herself. And then she blessed her purse, and she blessed all the cars that were on the road, and she just did all this blessing as she drove back home trying to find her purse. Well, she couldn't find it as she drove back, so she went back home, she pulled into her driveway, and when she got to her front door, the bag was laying against the front door. So somebody had brought that bag back. They had looked in her purse, gotten her address out, and they brought the bag and put it on the door. She never knew who did it, Everything that was in it was still in it, but the bag was back at her door. And so she was saying how wonderful it was that this was a result of the blessing. She had no idea who brought this bag back to her, but what she did was to start to bless everybody who passed her, so that just in case one of those people she passed was the person who brought it back, she blessed them. So when I read that, when I thought about that, I was like, yes, that's what I'll do. I'll bless everybody who passes me. And whoever it was that keyed my car gets blessed. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Is in blessing ourselves, being compassionate with ourselves, it gives us an opportunity to bless others in the process also, and to raise our awareness, and to raise our consciousness, and to raise our vibration. And when we're doing that, we raise the vibration of all that's around us, of the world around us. And so doing this is really, 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 really important for us to do. In addition to the you and I self-talk, another giveaway is shoulds. When we are talking to ourselves with the shoulds, when we're shoulding all over ourselves, then we know that's a time to be mindful, that's a time to be compassionate, that's a time for blessing. When we're starting to should, it's like I could, I will, I can, just using different language and turning all of that into blessing. The second thing I want you to think about is remembering how people and situations and things mirror us. How people and situations and things mirror us. So what we want to do is to bless ourselves in those areas where we need the most progress. And people are always showing us where we need the most progress. When they show up in our faces with stuff, they're showing us where we need the most progress. They're showing us where we need to do our work. They're showing us where we, if we're looking at someone who's lying all the time, we have to ask ourselves, where am I being untruthful? If we're looking at someone who is stealing all the time, where am I stealing? I'm reminded of years ago, my teacher, Michael Beckwith, had a break-in at his house. Someone broke into his house and stole the TV out of the house. And initially he was saying that he was very upset about it, and who could have broken into the house, and that's the only thing they took was a TV, and he carried on. And then he had to stop and ask himself, where am I stealing in my life? Where am I stealing in my life? And he talked about how he just really thought about different aspects of his life, and he seemed to be pretty clear everywhere. But he knew that for this to have happened to him, there had to be an area in his life where he was stealing something. And he said finally he recognized that he was stealing time away from spirit because he wasn't doing his meditation and spiritual practice with the kind of commitment that he'd always done. He was taking a few minutes off here, I don't have time here, I don't feel like it there. And he said, you know, that's still stealing, because that's the time I have committed to spend with spirit. And when I'm pinching off minutes, when I'm pinching off time, when I'm pinching off days or whatever the case may be, and not doing that practice that I've committed to, then I'm stealing that time that I could spend with the presence of God. And so he looked at that burglary in his house as a message to him, as a mirror for him, that there was a place in his life where he was stealing. There was a place in his life where he was taking things that didn't belong to him because having committed that time to spirit, that time belonged to God. But he took it back. And that was such a profound way to look at that for me. It made me start to really think about how important, first of all, our time with God is, how important our commitment to our spiritual practice has to be, how important and sacred our commitment to live in oneness, our commitment to deepen in consciousness, our commitments to live in a way that we are not practicing separation, how important it is for us to do that always in every aspect of our lives, so that when we have situations where people around us, or situations or where conditions are showing us that we aren't doing that, then it's a mirror for us to look at. This is where I need progress in my life. This is where I need progress in my life. I've been trying to figure out the keying of my car, trying to see how that's mirroring something. Haven't quite figured it out yet. But I've been thinking about it. Where am I doing wrong? Where am I doing something to somebody else? And it may not be the same, it may not be in kind, but how am I defacing somebody else's property or somebody else in some way, or defacing something in my own life? And so I invite you to ask these questions of yourself. When you see things that come up that give you the opportunity to bless, ask the question, how is this mirroring me? And when I can see how this is mirroring me, then I can see how to bless myself, how to bless myself in the progress that I need to make in my life. Does this make sense? Yeah. It's an opportunity for us to go deeper, always. There's an opportunity for us to open our hearts, always. There's an opportunity for us to practice the truth that we know, that God is in the midst of everything, and that we are each and all made in the image and likeness and out of spirit itself. There's an opportunity for us to return unto God. And that's what it's all about. That's what we're doing when we are blessing. When we are blessing others and when we're blessing ourselves, we are returning unto God. Returning unto God, the God that we know. We're blessing ourselves. We're honoring that God presence within ourselves when we're blessing ourselves. And finally, when you're blessing yourself, be specific. Be specific in your blessing. Don't just bless yourself as a child of God. Yes, you are a child of God. But that's so general. Be really specific. If there's a specific area that you need a blessing and that you want to bless yourself, be specific. I bless myself in my health and wholeness. I bless myself in my ability to forgive somebody that you may be holding a grudge against. I bless myself in my ability to forgive myself. Because sometimes that's the hardest forgiveness that we have to do. I bless myself in my ability to open my heart to myself and to forgive myself for whatever mistakes I have made, for whatever I may have done in the past. I bless myself in my ability to love unconditionally those people that you can't stand. You look right at them and you say, I bless myself in my ability to love unconditionally. And then really keep looking and seeing the divinity. Visualizing, when we're blessing somebody or something, we have to visualize the very best for them. We have to visualize the love that we want them to have. We have to visualize the life that we want them to live. We have to visualize the way that we'd like to see them be. We have to visualize the God presence within them so that it can be made manifest into the world. We have to visualize that God presence within each one of us so that it can be made manifest in our lives, so that we can be all that we were created to be, so that we can live our very best lives. You know, the more birthdays we have, the more we realize the time here is really short. We don't have a long time here. We don't have a long time to keep pussyfooting around with this stuff. It's time to start living it. It's time to start living our best lives. It's time to start practicing what we preach. It's time to start believing and living like we know the truth that we spout off so easily on this campus, in these four walls here. It's time for us to start living like we really know that there's only one life, that there's only one power, there's only one presence, there's only one mind, there's only one activity, there's only one breath. There's only one source, God, and that life is my life. And if it's my life, it's got to be your life, and it's got to be your life, and it's got to be your life, and it's got to be the life of us all. This is the truth. And if we know this truth, this is what we have to live. Because as we live this truth, that's how our lives get better. That's how we get to live the life that we were created to live. That's how we get to live the life that we came here to live. That's how we get to live on purpose, which is to be carriers of God's love. We're here to be carriers of God's love. And we can do that to the degree that we can open our hearts and open our minds and remember who we are. And just as we remember who we are, we remember who everybody is, that we're all a part of the one. And that God manifests and expresses through each one of us according to our own uniqueness. So no, you're not going to do it like I do. I'm not going to do it like you. You're not going to look like me. You're not going to sound like me. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. So let's take a breath as we just make the commitment today to start to bless ourselves. Let's start to bless ourselves. Bless us in our perfection. Because do you know that there's that within us that is whole, perfect, and complete, just as we are? There's that within us that has never been hurt, harmed, or endangered in any way. And that's the part that we want to tap into. And we want to bless and call that forth in everything that we do. And sometimes it looks more raggedy than others. But we call it forth anyway. And as we continue to do the work, as we continue to practice, as we continue to grow, develop, and unfold, it starts to look much more magnificent than it does when we first start out. So I encourage you, bless yourself this day as you bless others. Bless yourself in every aspect of your life. Bless yourself in your loveliness, your beauty. Bless yourself that you are whole, perfect, and complete. That there's nothing that can change that, just as we are. And yes, if we want to change some things about ourselves, we can, but bless yourself just as you are and just as you would like to be. And then open your heart to yourself and watch your world change. Watch your world transform. And watch the world around you and the lives of other people who come in contact with you transform also. So let's take a breath as we just turn within in this moment and allow ourselves to move into that place of oneness with Spirit and that place of knowing the absolute truth that God is all there is. God is all there is, the only power, the only presence, the only mind, the only life, the only is God. This is the truth that I know. There's only one. This is the truth that I know. This one is my life. This one is the life of each of us here this day. This one is God. This one is source. This one is whatever name you call it or no name at all. This one is. And so we breathe into this isness that is God right now. We open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our entire being to this magnificence of the isness that is God. And everything that we could want, need, or desire is available to us in this one presence, this one mind, this one life, this one. And anything unlike it just dissolves into nothingness. It is dissolved by this word that's being spoken, whether it is in the area of finances in your life, as in the area of health. Anything that appears to be unlike God is dissolved by this word as we let go of fear and doubt and anxiety and anger and judgment and stuff. Because it's all stuff. We let go of stuff so that our hearts can be free, our entire being can be free, and we can be totally available to the all that is, in which all needs are met in each and every moment of each and every day, in every aspect of our lives. And so I'm calling forth healing in our lives this day, in this moment, in every aspect of our lives, in our body temples, in our bodies of affairs. Wherever healing is necessary, the power and the presence of God is. And healing is happening right here and right now. And so as I open this circle of prayer, I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer. You may speak their names silently or loud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is. In the midst of everything, every situation, every circumstance, God is. This prayer goes out to anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day. Any situation, any circumstance, any darkness, the light that is God is right in the midst. No matter what the appearances may look like, we hold to the truth that we know that God is. And so I just simply say thank you, Father, Mother God, for the blessings of our lives, for the healing that's happening in our lives right now. Thank you, Father, Mother God. Thank you, Infinite Presence. Thank you, Divine Mother, for everything. For everything. For everything. I just allow it to be now. And so it is.